Whispered Wonder Tales, a children's audio drama channel. Moonberry Forest, a creature who hated hugs. It was a bright Tuesday morning in Moonberry Forest when someone completely new arrived, and he arrived with quite a lot of noise. Crash went the bushes. Thump went something heavy hitting the ground. Stay back. Don't come any closer, shouted a voice that sounded like gravel mixed with honey. Nella and Lumo, who had been sharing breakfast with Fliff under their favorite willow tree, looked at each other with wide, curious eyes. Did someone just tell the forest to stay back? Nella whispered. They floated cautiously toward the commotion, where they found the most extraordinary sight. A creature unlike any they'd ever seen was standing in the middle of a small clearing, surrounded by a perfect circle of bent grass, as if he'd been spinning in place to keep everything away from him. He was about the size of a large rabbit, but infinitely fluffier. His fur was the color of storm clouds with silver streaks, and it stuck out in all directions like he'd been struck by gentle lightning. His eyes were the deepest brown, like rich forest soil, and his ears were so long they draped over his shoulders like a fuzzy scarf. He was, without a doubt, the most huggable-looking creature in the entire forest, which made what happened next even more surprising. "Hello there," Nella called out cheerfully, floating closer with her arms outstretched for a welcome hug. "I'm Nella, and this is Lumo. We're so excited to meet." "No," the creature yelped, jumping backwards so fast he tumbled over his own feet. "No hugs, no touching. No getting close. I'm Trundle, and I do not like hugs." Nella stopped mid-float, her arms still outstretched, looking completely bewildered. In all her time in Moonberry Forest, she'd never met anyone who didn't want a hug. "Oh," she said, slowly lowering her arms. I'm sorry. I didn't know." Trundle ruffled his fur and stood up straighter, though he was still backing away. "Well, now you do. I don't like hugs, or pats, or snuggles, or any kind of touching whatsoever. So just stay over there, and we'll get along fine." Lumo, ever the gentle peacemaker, floated a respectful distance away and settled onto a nearby mushroom. "That's perfectly okay, Trundle. We don't have to hug to be friends." "Friends?" Trundle's ears twitched nervously. "Who said anything about friends? I'm just passing through. I don't stay places long enough to make friends." But as the morning wore on, it became clear that Trundle wasn't going anywhere. He'd set up a small camp in the clearing, carefully arranged so that no one could approach from any direction without him seeing them first. Word spread quickly through the forest about the new arrival who didn't like hugs. Soon, a parade of well-meaning forest creatures came to visit, and each encounter went exactly the same way. Mrs. Rabbit arrived with her babies, all of them eager to snuggle the fluffy newcomer. "Oh, my stars," she cooed. "Aren't you just the most cuddly thing? Come here, sweetie." "Nope," Trundle squeaked, diving behind a tree. "No cuddling. No sweetie-ing. Just look at me from over there." The bear cubs came tumbling over, ready for a group hug. Trundle climbed the nearest tree. Even old Grumblethorn shuffled over, muttering, "Looks like he could use a good pat on the head to settle his nerves." Nitrogen monoxide patting. Came Trundle's voice from somewhere in the tree branches by afternoon. The poor creature was exhausted from all the avoiding, and the forest creatures were feeling hurt and confused. "I don't understand," sighed Mrs. Nightingale. "He's so fluffy and soft-looking. How can he not want hugs?" "Maybe he's sick?" wondered one of the fox cubs. "Maybe he's just mean," grumbled a squirrel. Nella and Lumo watched all of this with growing concern. Not for themselves, but for Trundle. They could see something that the other forest creatures couldn't. Trundle wasn't mean or sick. He was lonely. Despite all his protests about not wanting friends, his eyes followed every creature that walked away from him, and his ears drooped a little more each time someone left. That evening, as the sun painted the sky in gentle pastels, Nella and Lumo approached Trundle's clearing again. But this time, they stopped at the very edge and sat down on the grass. "We brought you some dinner," Nella called out, not moving any closer. "I'll just leave it here on this tree stump." Trundle peeked out from behind his makeshift shelter. You're not going to try to hug me?" "Nope," said Lumo cheerfully. "You said you don't like hugs, so we won't hug you. And you're not going to try to pet me or snuggle me or pick me up." "Not unless you want us to," Nella replied. "Which you don't, so we won't." For the first time all day, Trundle relaxed slightly. "Oh, well, thank you. For the food, I mean." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, Trundle eating his dinner, and the two wisplings simply enjoying the evening air. Finally, Trundle spoke up. "You know," he said quietly, "it's not that I don't like any of you. You all seem very nice. It's just that hugs make me feel trapped. Like I can't breathe. Like I'm going to disappear under all that closeness." Nella nodded thoughtfully. "That sounds scary." "It is," Trundle admitted. "Where I come from, in the far meadows, we show care differently. We do nice things for each other from a distance. We leave little gifts. We say kind words. But we don't pile on top of each other." "That sounds lovely," Lumo said sincerely. "How do you show someone you care about them in the far meadows?" Trundle's eyes lit up for the first time since arriving. "Well, we might weave grass into pretty patterns for someone to find. Or we might sing songs from far away where they can hear but not see us. Or we might leave perfect stones or interesting leaves where someone will discover them." "That's beautiful," Nella said. And she meant it. "But here," Trundle continued, his ears drooping again, "everyone wants to hug and cuddle and squeeze. And when I say no, they think I don't like them. But I do. I just show it differently." Nella and Lumo exchanged one of their meaningful looks. "Trundle," Nella said gently, "what if we taught everyone about far meadows caring? What if we showed them that there are lots of ways to be kind? You would do that?" Trundle's voice was small and hopeful. "Of course," Lumo smiled. "Friends help friends feel comfortable. But I told you I don't stay places long enough to make friends, Trundle protested weakly. Maybe, Nella said with a gentle smile. You just haven't found the right place yet. The next morning, Nella and Lumo called a forest meeting. They explained about Far Meadow's caring, about how Trundle wasn't being mean or unfriendly. He was just showing kindness in his own special way. So instead of hugs, Nella announced, we can show Trundle we care by doing Far Meadow's caring. The forest creatures were fascinated. They'd never thought about different ways of showing affection before Mrs. Rabbit, and her babies spent the morning weaving a beautiful grass crown and leaving it where Trundle would find it. The bear cubs collected the smoothest, most perfectly round stones and arranged them in a heart shape near his camp. The squirrels gathered acorns and arranged them to spell out "Welcome" in neat letters. Old Grumblethorn even contributed by growing a circle of his finest mushrooms around. Trundle's clearing, not too close, but close enough to show he cared, and Mrs. Nightingale sang the most beautiful song from the top of a distant tree, her voice carrying across the forest, like a musical hug that didn't require any touching at all. When Trundle emerged from his shelter that morning, he stopped dead in his tracks. Everywhere he looked, there were signs of Far Meadow's caring. His eyes filled with tears of joy. This is exactly how we do it back home, he whispered to Nella and Lumo. But somehow it feels even more special here. That's because it's made with love, Lumo said softly. No matter how that love is shared. From that day forward, Moonberry Forest became a place where all kinds of caring were celebrated. The huggers still hugged, with permission. The cuddlers still cuddled, when invited. But they also learned the gentle art of Far Meadow's caring. Trundle never did become a hugger, but he became something even better, a teacher. He showed everyone that kindness comes in many forms, and that the most important thing isn't how you show you care, but that you care at all. And sometimes, on quiet evenings when the moon was full, you could hear the most beautiful sound drifting through the forest, Trundle's voice, singing Far Meadow songs of gratitude and belonging, while his friends listened from exactly the right distance, their hearts full of exactly the right kind of love. He still didn't like hugs, but he loved being loved in the way that felt right to him. And in Moonberry Forest, that was the most beautiful kind of friendship of all. This is the end of the story, and we invite you to listen to the next radio play on our channel.